Good evening and welcome to the 632nd episode of Travel Itch. I'm Dan Schlossberg, and we are in the 15th season of Travel Itch Radio, the show that lets you enjoy the pleasures of travel from the comfort of your armchair. Every week at this time, we talk to people representing destinations, hotels, airlines, railroads, car rental companies, and others in the world of travel and hospitality, from authors and bloggers to broadcasters and publicists. If it's got anything to do with travel, it's got everything to do with Travel Itch. Our guest tonight is my colleague and longtime friend, travel journalist Karen Feld. Welcome, Karen, to Travel Itch Radio.
Thank you, Dan. It's good to see you, and it's fun to be here to talk about my hometown, Washington.
Well, I love Washington and have been there many times, but nobody knows it like you. I know you're on the board of the Silurians and also an eclectic private museum marking its 45th anniversary. Please share with our viewers. I, for one, have never heard of the Silurians.
Well, the Silurians is based in New York, and I've spent about half time in New York and had lived up there full time for a lot of years. It's the oldest press club in the nation, 101 years old. It's veteran journalists, which not only means older by age, and there's some retired New York Times, Newsday people like that, but it means people who have a lot of experience in both print and broadcast. And we meet once a month at the National Arts Club in Gramercy Park and have fabulous speakers. And they also they have a scholarship, so they're trying to mentor younger journalists, which is important, affiliated, with all the journalism schools in New York. And also just a lot of things to involve First Amendment rights and just different kinds of things in the community. And so it's mostly New York writers. And since I am both a New York and DC based writer, it works great. It's fabulous people.
Well, Washington is such a photogenic city because of all of its monuments. Which ones are the newest and which ones are your favorites?
Well, my favorite, which is also both older and new, not old like hundreds of years old, but 45 years old and new because of all the new things. And the new part of it is the O Mansion and Museum. And it was started by H. Leonard, who is absolutely the most creative person I've ever met. And she started this as a hotel in DC, which it still operates with about 100 rooms. But in each one is different. Everything is for sale in the whole place. And then they combined it with, they opened up the O Museum, which is part of it, a few years ago. And so now we're doing another museum, which is the largest sort of enhanced reality virtual museum in the world, called 51 Steps to Freedom. And it really kind of culminates with the 250th birthday of the nation's capital this summer, but it is already open. And it's basically the 51 steps are 50 states plus one nation, where what we're doing is uniting everybody and taking things, paperwork, Declaration of Independence, things like that, out of museums, bringing them through enhanced technology to the people where they can participate. So they could sign that, for example. Or they can go anywhere, and it's all outdoors, all over, and you can watch it from your phone, or there's, different things in the museum where it's hooked up and you can see the reality. You could even stay in a room there and it's 24/7, sleep in the museum. And I mean, there's a safari room and there's a line on the virtual reality that can come and, attack you during the night or something.
Well, personally, I love all the Smithsonian's, but Air and Space always seems to get the biggest crowd, right?
Well, they do get a big crowd, and the Smithsonian museums, they're still government museums, and it's wonderful. They're all free in DC. But I like it a lot, the more eclectic private museums, more creative. But the Smithsonian also has a branch of Air and Space out near Dulles Airport. And that has, remember the Concorde? Did you ever fly on that?
No, never did. Wish I'd had.
Yeah, it was fabulous. I remember going to London on it and back a couple times. Anyway, there's Concords in there. There's a space shuttle thing. I mean, it's very cool. And that's off the mall, whereas most of them are, long walk, but walking distance to one another on the mall. And they've been updated. They closed for various reasons and renovations and update and all of that. But there's so many private museums as well. But the public ones, the Smithsonian's, are all free.
The smallest Smithsonian is the National Postal Museum, which is kind of hard to find, right near Union Station. I absolutely loved it. Your take on it?
Well, it's good. I mean, people forget about it. It's right across from Union Station, which has gotten busier than ever. And I take the train back and forth a lot between DC and New York. But I think that probably the best known thing in the Post Office Museum is John Lennon's stamp collection. I mean, people our generation, we all had stamp collections as kids. Who knows what happened to them, but they weren't John Lennon's.
And speaking of John Lennon,
You pulled that old picture.
I did. And you said this was taken at Griffith Stadium, the old
It was
Washington
the
Senators.
it
Yeah.
was the old it was the first Beatles press conference in Washington, 1964 or six. Yeah, that's me back in the it was in the dressing rooms.
Yep. Wow. And what about government buildings like the White House? Is it tough to get a ticket for a tour?
I think it's easier than it used to be, and the best way to get a ticket to either the White House or the Capitol is always to call your congressperson or senator, and they have a certain amount they can get.
Okay, we're talking Washington, D.C. with Karen Feld. How crazy is cherry blossom time?
Do we still have the Beatles picture over my face now? It looks like, oh, okay. It looked like it on my
Sorry.
Monica. Cherry blossom time is beautiful. I think it's the most beautiful time in Washington. They've kind of starting to fade now. I have a couple on my patio out here, actually. It peaks at different times. It peaked in sort of near the end of April this year, a couple of weeks ago. And there's a lot of events. The Cherry Blossom Princesses has gone on forever from each state. But what people don't realize, yes, there's traffic and it's a mob scene down on the mall where it's beautiful, but there's cherry blossoms all over in the suburbs. The Maryland suburbs, there's a lot of cherry blossoms. And, you can see them in all sort of shades of pink and whatever, and stay out of some of the traffic.
Washington gets awfully hot and humid during the summer. Is that prime time for tourists because the city is less crowded?
No, I mean, I think summers are prime time for kids, that we're in school the rest of the year. So there's always tourists in summer. Prices are cheaper in summer than when there's, conventions and big meetings and international get-togethers and everything else. But I mean, Washington is one of these year-round tourist places. And especially now, because there's so many new attractions as well as the old ones. There's another new museum hopefully opening. They've got a pop-up open now with incredible art exhibits, and they're raising money. And that's a Watergate museum. And the reason really, and it's a lot of the Watergate residents who are behind this. And they've started raising money. They've got 100 portraits up. This woman, Laurie Munn, who's an incredible, from upstate New York, incredible portrait artist. Has every, I mean, she was like Rosemary Woods, who, erased 18 minutes or whatever it was of the tape with her foot on the pedal. And I mean, it's very whimsical with all the people, both on the committee, the burglars, whatever. But it's relevant today, which is why they want to do it. Because tourists walk by and they say, oh, that's the Watergate. But nobody, if you ask them, no one knows why the Watergate is famous. And people younger than us, younger generations, born around in the 70s, they just don't know. And so the museum would sort of maintain and keep history, and it also is a different time. It's like all these museums now, it's going back to a time where, people tried to work together to get what they wanted. It was a different kind of thing. And it really, Watergate pales by today's standards. And so to remind people of it, and some interesting characters in there, and to remind people of that is important for the sake of history. So it'll be in the Watergate complex.
Is Washington dog friendly?
I hope so, because I always have at least two with me. Those are two previous ones, but I have two that look similar right now. I always have little poodles. I mean, I take them places. And my older one is a service dog, but it's not, some parts are more friendly than other parts. Old Town, Virginia, which is right across the river in Alexandria, is very, very dog friendly. And it's a fabulous place anyway. It's a very arty community. It's dog friendly, great restaurants, a lot of new condos. They've built up the waterfront, as they have in Georgetown. And, the waterfront is dog friendly. A lot of places are, but then there's parts of Washington that are more stuffy. People try and be politically correct, whatever that means, they always have. So it's not as friendly. I mean, New York is more dog friendly.
Do visitors need cars to get around, or will the metro suffice?
I drive personally, but then again, I've driven here forever. Plenty of people take the metro. I don't think driving is as much of a problem as parking, which is a reason to take the metro places. And it's pretty good. Goes a lot of places. And if you're coming in from Maryland or Virginia also, sometimes it pays because then it can be a long haul and a lot of traffic. And the difference now is there's not, I think since the pandemic and everything else, there's not like rush hour at certain days, certain times, because so many people are still working part-time, at least remotely. So it's unpredictable. You know,
The National Holocaust Museum is perhaps the most moving in the city, and it's different than other Holocaust museums because it details the American reaction to the Holocaust rather than the Holocaust itself. Have you been?
I have been, it's been a few years, but I remember going several times when it first opened. And you take a card, it's just, randomly, you're given a card. And it is of the card has a picture and a name and a story of a person who was part of the Holocaust. And as you're going through the museum, you put your card in the machines and it tells you that person's story, which I think brings it home. It's more than just, you feel more involved than just reading a label or something about an anonymous person. It's still very popular. It's been there and done very well.
Are we now up to date with museums dedicated to World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam? And what about the Civil War?
There is a museum, and it's really about what they called the colored people engaged in the war, and that's what it was devoted to. At the time, that's what African Americans were called, and it's really about their participation in the war, and it's downtown.
Good to know. Are the Washington Monument, Jefferson Memorial, and Lincoln Memorial still as popular as ever? And are they all still free along with Smithsonian's?
They're definitely free. They've been closed from time to time for repairs. I mean, I always love the Jefferson Memorial because it's so pretty on the tidal basin. And, you can do the paddle boats and things up there, and it's pretty at night. And you can walk from there over to Lady Bird Johnson's tulip garden when that's blooming. And it's just a very pretty setting, I think. But yeah, they all, the Washington Monument's always going to attract people. And the Lincoln Memorial, now we're going to have the arch built by the Lincoln Memorial to tie up traffic.
I've been to Nationals Park several times. Are the Nationals ever going to sell naming rights? The Yankees and Nationals are the last teams that haven't.
I thought the Nationals are now the last, which you're the baseball person. They're trying. I think they're trying because, they're talking about, the money that would come from that certainly would enhance the team, the players they can have, just the whole experience for everybody. So I think it's something they really want to do.
There are many great historic places in the whole area, including Mount Vernon, Alexandria, you mentioned. What are some of your favorites, Karen?
Historic or just museums? I still, aside from some I haven't mentioned, the private museums, I love Hillwood, which was the home of Marjorie Merriweather Post. It's in a residential area, and that's the Post serial family, whatever. And she also she did live in Mar-a-Lago. That was her other home. But they have a lot of, all the old, the glass and all the Russian stuff and it's just unbelievable. And orchid gardens and everything all year round. They've opened a cafe, they've expanded it and have some outbuildings with different shows. And that's really one of my favorites to walk around. The other one, Dan, that you would love is Glenstone. It's an art museum, inside, outside, sculpture and art. And is the home of Mitch Rales, the part that's his home. And he's one of the owners of the Commanders and involved with that. And he just announced, I think it was yesterday, it was this week, the largest donation ever to the National Gallery of Art, so they can take all of their exhibits around the country and more people can see them and share and be involved in that.
That's great. Viewers, you're listening to Travel It's Radio with Dan Schlossberg. Find the archive show on YouTube, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, X, and Facebook. And we're talking Washington, D.C. with Karen Feld. Karen, I know you're a big fan of canines. I asked you, are there plenty of dog-friendly spots, not only in DC, but how about New York too?
Well, New York has more. New York's very dog friendly. I mean, it's no question. DC, the hottest thing now instead of dogs is My Len, the new baby elephant at the National Zoo. Is getting a lot of attention. She's, I think it was just this month, about a week ago, that they started letting visitors in. She's about 500 pounds now
Wow.
and just a few months old. But yeah, so that's taken over from dogs, not in my heart, but out there.
Okay, let's talk restaurants. What are some of the more unusual ones tourists should try in DC?
Well, DC goes, again, a lot of closing, a lot of new ones are opening. There's been this rapid turnover. And they go from one extreme to the other. There's a lot of ethnic places all over, particularly in some of the areas being redeveloped, Northeast Washington, down by the Navy Yard. There's a lot of Ethiopian restaurants, certainly Asian, Thai, a lot of Indian, but different things are like popping up, some owners doing others. My favorite are any of the restaurants owned by Ashok, who has Indian restaurants he's had for years. He's a real pro. Rashika, which has 2 locations, is really probably my favorite because it's very creative Indian food and upscale. And they've opened in different neighborhoods as well with slightly different names, but there's those. Fiola Murray, he has several, but that's probably the top one in town. It's Italian seafood, and it's right on the waterfront in Georgetown, and is excellent. And really just pretty views as well as good food. And that's more upscale. And there's a few Michelin star ones that open and close. Maza, which is part of the Star Restaurant Group, opened, I think, about last year in Georgetown. It's always very, very popular with their mozzarella bar and some cutting edge stuff. It's a big hangout spot and good food. And then there are your old, staples that have been there forever. Martin's Tavern has been popular for years and years. When I was growing up, it was popular, and it still is. And Georgetown, the Old Ebbitt Grill downtown, the Diplomat is excellent. So there's no shortage of restaurants all over town, the different neighborhoods and different ethnic kinds of restaurants.
You split your time between Washington and New York. Why?
Well, I've lived in both, so I have friends in both. I love both cities. I mean, I think Washington's my hometown. There's no place with the energy that New York has. I love theater. I love live entertainment, cabaret, and that's New York. People are interesting in New York. It's the opposite of Washington. I always say in New York, somebody can be standing behind you in a Starbucks and they'll have an opinion on something and, turn around and tell you. Whereas in Washington, everybody tries to be politically correct, whatever that means, and sort of fence sitters in the middle, the road, much more serious. And that hasn't really changed. I think Washington is cleaner. I think it's greener. I mean, I'm talking about living in the city now in New York. But there's only one New York. And so I'm kind of torn. And as long as we have Amtrak, I can go back and forth.
Okay. Do you take press trips or prefer to travel on your own? And what are some of your favorite places on the road?
I have been on press trips. It's been many years. I do prefer to go on my own. That's not to say I wouldn't go on a smaller press trip or an individual one, but I don't like a press trip where they put you on a bus at 7 a.m. and you're going here and there, because I like to roam around and talk to people. And I find that the stories come from interesting people. And on a press trip, you don't often have time to do that kind of thing. I mean, the price is right, but you don't have time to really explore as you would going alone or just with a friend. So I tend to do that. As far as international, one of my favorite trips in recent years has been, I've done 2 of them, luxury barge in France on different canals, because I'm very into food and wine. And that's the best of all of it. And it's what's called slow travel, but it's also a small group. I mean, we had like it was 8 people and 8 crew on one ship, which was great. And the same thing with the Galapagos, which I think, as if you like wildlife, which I do, that's a fabulous trip to fly to in Ecuador to Guayaquil and go to the Galapagos. And again, a smaller ship will take you to islands that you can't get into on some of the bigger ones. So it's more interesting. So I think those trips were very interesting. Been to Cuba several times and had some fascinating trips there. It has changed a lot since, I mean, from between the first time and the last time I was there. And I spent a lot of time there during the Elia Gonzalez story, around 2000, whenever it was, and broke a lot of that story in his hometown and other areas. And it was just such an exciting place in Cuba, to see the hope that a lot of people had for private industry and different things, and how pretty was it. Really was almost like a ghost town when I went back. It was actually the first year of the first Trump administration, when he didn't want people to travel there. So of course I got on a plane and went on a press pass, and you could see where it was like a ghost town. The whole country had really gone downhill. So I have not been back since then, but it was a fascinating place to go to. And the people were so nice. Portugal has all over Portugal. I love the people. I mean, for me, anywhere I go is about people, because I think that's not only, it's fun to meet new people. It's where the stories are, and everything is about story.
Well, I missed the museum, which was Gannett's terrific museum of news. Any chance it might resurface somewhere?
I understand that they are looking for a location. Again, it's about money, it's about doing it. But I think that it will be outside. It won't be in DC, or it was in Virginia and then DC. But I mean, it won't be in DC area anymore. I think they will hopefully find a place somewhere. But I think it's more relevant now than ever, because we need to remind people of the First Amendment and First Amendment rights. So I think that there is a need for it, and hopefully they will find another home.
You cover much more than travel, politics, for example, and show business. Any favorite topics?
And medical, do a little of
Yes,
everything.
well, you have a long list.
And just essays. I do a Substack column now, as well as write for some other publications. I like local stuff, so I do a lot of stuff with the George Center in DC, for New York City Women in New York, and various other places. But I'll do any topic. Again, it's about the personalities mostly, and the stories. So whether it's about, I did a piece on a woman who's in her late 90s who's still teaching, developed the program and still teaching art to maximum security prisoners in the DC jail, at that age, and going there. And it's her life. And she's from the former Slovenia. But it's what keeps her going, because she calls them her boys, and she gets, she feels like she's helping rehab these guys, which she is, and it's terrific. And they go out in the world and get jobs when they get released and all. So a personality like that, who is an inspiration, I do a story on. I just did Marilyn May, her 98th birthday. She's playing 54 Below, all the clubs in New York. And she's still, on stage singing and kicking, and she's amazing. So I will do stories like that. I will do anything that's a little offbeat. It's interesting. I did do a story on the upcoming Watergate Museum. And so I just, whatever, I'm doing less and less politics these days, and getting more into what I would call more fun. I still do a lot of research, and I started doing medical stuff, and I do a lot of medical research. Again, I sort of put in a category with politics right now, and it's not fun to write. So I do it for my own use. And I will one day write it, but I've done a lot of stuff in that. Whatever I find interesting, I'll explore. And that's the nice thing about just being able to write on all topics.
Okay, well, you have a tremendous amount of energy, despite this picture not showing it. But tell us about some of the awards you've won.
Well, I've won a lot of national awards through the years. I just received 4 more first place from the at-large contest for the National Federation of Press Women, in different 4 different categories. And I have received awards from every year since 1982. I'm really dating myself. But I got awards, a couple from your group, NACHA, years ago, from ASJA, American Society of Journalists and Authors, from SPJ and the Deadline Club, Society of Professional Journalists. There's a bunch of them. The American Chiropractic Association for medical article I wrote. So I have gotten a lot of awards.
Speaking of your work, where can viewers find it?
Well, first of all, I have a website, KarenFeld.com, and there is a body of work up there. It's not everything, but I'm working on digitalizing a lot of it, getting it up there, scanning it. There's also videos, and I have a YouTube channel. I've done a lot of on-camera work, and I did Joan Rivers for a lot of years during the Clinton years, kind of making politics funny, dishing with Joan on camera. So a lot of those videos, as well as some of my speeches, talks about sort of inside Washington, are on the YouTube channel. Again, I'm trying to get these videos converted from sort of obsolete format, shall we say, to today's formats. But the Substack column is karenfeld.substack.com, and it's a free subscription for now if you all, anybody that wants to subscribe or listen to it. And I just write whatever I feel like writing and tie usually a personal angle into it. And it's eclectic, but hopefully people like it and it's fun. And then I freelance when magazines or newspapers call me. I mean, I did mostly the traditional ones that are less and less, but I'll do online too. So it's all over.
Karen, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to add?
Well, I just really feel that, and not just because I'm on the board, but I do feel that O Museum is just worth something that everybody should go to see as an inspiration for creativity. I mean, there's all these like signed guitars by famous rock stars in there. Everything is for sale. It is so eclectic. It changes on a daily basis. There's secret doors. You never know who you're going to meet there, what you're going to find. But it's one of the most creative places you can imagine. And the 51 Steps to Freedom, again, it takes, things out of museums. It humanizes them. People can participate in signing the Declaration of Independence or something relevant, that would be relevant to that today on signing documents, of feeling that they have some say in everything and participation and seeing the world and interacting that way. So I think that it's just one of those things that is totally amazing.
Our guest this evening at Travel Itch has been travel writer Karen Feld. Thank you, Karen, for joining us today.
Thank you, Dan, for having me.
Okay, my pleasure. And that's it for this edition of Travel Itch. We're back next week to talk about something not too far from our nation's capital, beautiful colonial Williamsburg. Same time, same station. Now, this is Dan Schlossberg saying thank you for your time this time. Until next time, good night.